Did you see the stylish?
Welcome to the Young IPA podcast. I'm James, this is Pete.
G'day, everyone.
It is the 5th of December. This is episode 138. Huge show for you guys coming up. I do say it every week. This week, I mean it as well as all the other weeks where I don't mean it. But this week especially.
Yeah, definitely.
We have got David Limbrick, Victorian State MP with the Liberal Democratic Party. We're going to be talking to him. We've got festival season coming up. We've also got to be talking to Adam Schlicht from SoFox about festival season coming up. But you can't talk about festival season in 2019 without talking about safe pill testing at the festival. So we're going to be talking to David Limbrick about some of the stuff going on there. But people watching on YouTube, people watching on Facebook right now will definitely have noticed by now that Evan Mulholland, the IPA spin doctor, I think that's our in podcast name for you, has joined us as well. We're going to be talking to him in a few seconds about his week. Pete, anything that you're looking forward to in the show?
I'm looking forward to the festival guide from rockstar Adam Schlicht.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to ask him if I'm too old to still go to festivals. I don't think I am, but he might have a different opinion.
And I hope you're not. Sorry?
A little bit too old.
Evan,
You're here to talk about FIATS, all right?
this is a friendly show, okay? This isn't looking forward anymore. We get along in this episode.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about it because we brought on Evan because, Pete set this up for us.
Well, as I said I wanted to introduce Evan today because one of the reasons is I want to introduce a new nickname.
Okay.
I don't want to call him the Spinner anymore. I think we should call him the Undertaker because it just seems to fit. Now, Evan, so you were here. You
As in the wrestler, the Undertaker, or the job profession?
just the Undertaker. Just he just comes for he comes with the news.
Yeah, I was thinking like Evan's a bit of a wrestling guy, as we find out in the quiz.
Yeah. If that's what you're into, mate, fair enough. Anyway, look, what I wanted to ask you about, we wanted to ask you about the Foreign Influence Transparency Scheme.
Yep.
Now, you had a piece in The Australian about this during the week, and it was fantastic. Now, we broke this story a few weeks ago when Andrew Cooper from the LDP and Liberty Works was on the program.
Yep.
He mentioned this had happened to him. The Australian were pretty good. They're only a few days behind the Young IPA podcast.
Yeah.
And they reported a few days later that it happened to Tony Abbott. Anyway, the first thing that we wanted to ask you was, do you admit that me and James are now the ultimate news hounds?
Well, yeah, it does seem. Maybe we can swap nicknames around, and you guys can be the spinners.
Maybe.
You found us.
So I just want to make sure that we definitely got that. And press record. Loop that as a GIF for later use. But yeah, sorry, I just noticed the camera's wearing a crown from the quiz. So talk to us about this. So like for people that are new to this story, because there's a lot of big words that go on with this story. So for people that are new to it, people that aren't fully understanding, Foreign Influence Transparency Scheme, what do they want to do, and then what happened to Andrew Cooper?
So this was a law designed in the Turnbull years as sort of a way to deal with Chinese influence. It was around the time of Sam Dastyari scandal, if you can remember that, friend of the show, as well as other threats to Chinese influence that were perceived with political influence in Australian politics. This was what the bill was meant to deal with. Now, at the time, our own Morgan Begg actually wrote in his legal rights audit of 2018 that this has the potential for real bureaucratic overreach. There's procedural fairness issues. There's all sorts of issues with the law that means it could be used in ways that were untoward. Now, surprise, surprise, that something untoward has happened.
Yeah.
As Andrew
Morgan
Cooper
Begg,
discussed on the show.
Nostradamus.
What has happened under this is the only ever order of compliance made under this scheme was made to Andrew Cooper, head of libertarian activist organisation Liberty Works, who organised the CPAC conference, this Conservative Political Action Conference. In doing that, he worked with the American Conservative Union to bring CPAC to Australia. CPAC is a political franchise. It's not some fringe right thing, as Christina Keneally likes to call it. It is a mainstream Republican conference where future presidents give their policy speeches. It's expanded into all sorts of other countries like Japan, now Australia. So in doing that, it ordered Andrew Cooper hand over all documents relating to, potentially thousands of documents relating to his dealings with the ACU. It also invited Tony Abbott, former Prime Minister and Speaker at the conference, invited him to register as an agent of foreign influence. That's how outrageous it was. So when all this went down, I thought, I'll lodge a freedom of information request. And I lodged...
Sorry, can I just pause for a second? Because you talk about like the bureaucratic overreach and some of the stuff that goes in there. Like Andrew Cooper's ordered to hand over these documents, and like sometimes the police will say hand that over, but you do have the right to silence and you don't have to do that. But he was given 14 days to do it, or he goes to jail, right?
He was given 14 days, and it was written that failure to comply could result in a maximum of 6 months in prison.
Yeah. Like,
that's just ridiculous.
that's a law that we have in Australia right now. That's insane.
And so
He refused to do it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, as our chairman, Janet Albrechtsen, has written in Australian, the International Integrity Unit in the group in the Attorney General's Department is responsible for overseeing this scheme. This contains just 8 public servants overseeing all foreign influence in Australia. So
I feel safe.
Yeah. And so I thought I better FOI this group.
Standard undertaker behaviour.
And so I FOI'd them for
Freedom of Information Acted.
Yep, a
the
3-month period for the words of CPAC, ACU, Tony Abbott, Andrew Cooper, and Liberty Works.
Yeah.
James Bolt,
and
Petty
what I found, I was given a practical refusal notice saying
Yeah.
it was take too much work to do.
So-
and
sorry.
they found 1,300 documents.
So let's break it down because, like, we have a lot of listeners who've never worked in politics before. So for Freedom of Information Acts, like, you ask the government, I want these documents.
Yeah.
Do they have to give them over?
Not necessarily. Freedom of information laws are very untransparent in a sense. They can delay and find out reasons to refuse, and it's very difficult to challenge them because you don't know what they're trying to hide. It's not like there's an equal basis of agreement there. And so
they tell you-
usually have to come back to you within 30 days.
Right. And they tell you, we're not going to give you the documents,
Yeah.
but you, like, also, there's 1,300 of them.
Yeah,
There's 1,300 things that we're not
sometimes they
showing
give
you.
away pearls of information like that.
Right.
And so they told me there's in excess of 1,300 documents relating to the request based on an initial search. And they also said it would be unreasonable and too much work required for the department to process all of those documents, despite giving Andrew Cooper just 14 days to comply
Yeah.
with thousands of documents or go to jail
Yeah,
for 6
exactly.
months.
So
Yeah.
what happens next now that that's come through?
Well, we tend to think there's a real issue with the law. So it is up to Christian Porter to tell his department to release the documents. But there is a more important issue with that, and that is the law itself. The law either needs to be repealed or completely recast. And I think one of the most damning things is that he actually admitted that a bill that he drafted, introduced and legislated wasn't being used to its intent. He drafted it, so he should redraft it or repeal it. And so coalition governments and governments in general should not rely on the public service or on the good faith of the public service to clarify the intent of legislation.
Have you considered also searching for the word defamation in these? And that would really get Christian Porter's clear attention on this one.
Well, that might produce a lot more documents than this one.
All right. So that's where we're at so far.
Yeah.
So we get the information of we requested the freedom of information, or you do, but like we as the
Yeah.
IPA, and we hear that there's 1,300 documents that they're not handing over, which is just them going like, what do we do about Andrew Cooper, when it's a law brought in to stop Chinese influencers influencing Australian politics, but it's Andrew Cooper.
Yeah, and given the extent of scandal over Chinese influence that's been in the media recently, it is embarrassing and ridiculous that a task force or a group that was set up to oversee a scheme to deal with this has been too busy, over 1,300 documents of correspondence, too busy looking at conservatives and actually dealing with foreign influence in politics.
All right, brilliant. Evan, thank you so much. And now we're going to be talking festivals and pill testing.
Thanks,
Bit of a
guys.
wild show. Bit of a wild show. Okay, we now welcome back onto the show Adam Schlicht. Stop distracting me, Pete. From SoFox.
Rockstar.
Now, we are... Sorry, it's summer. Yep, it's confirmed
It is.
summer.
Technically,
It is.
yeah.
It is confirmed summer. Check your calendars. And it is festival season. And Peter and I want to, we're not cool, but we speak for the people who
yourself,
are
mate.
cool. Okay, I'll speak for myself. I'm not cool, but I do have the voice of, I'm the voice of the youth, I would say, at this point. So I need to be up to date with what is cool. And with Summer Music Festival season coming up, we want to talk to the only cool person that I know. The
coolest person I know.
About what's coming up this year. So Adam, talk to us. What are the festivals? Where are people going? And what's playing? And what are you looking forward to?
Yeah. What's he going to?
I'm heading off to Beyond the Valley, BTV.
BTV?
People that are
Yeah, okay.
in
I feel
with it.
very cool. So I need to say BTV. If I say Beyond the Valley, I'll be
You'll
pelted
sound
with
like a
rotten
loser.
fruit. Okay.
Yeah, don't say that. So I'll be at BTV, which is kind of it's probably the biggest one, I reckon, in Victoria.
Not Falls?
Is now.
This is how bad I am.
controversial.
This is how bad I am.
Controversial. Falls hasn't sold out their tickets yet.
Whoa.
So.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's
that lineup is insane. I'm
pretty
going.
grim.
I'm in.
I know, it's really good, but BTV sold out in seconds. So
Okay.
What do you
that's
look
the place to be.
looking forward to about BTV?
Actually, there's the Veronicas are playing at BTV this
Okay.
year, which is a bit of a throwback.
Wow.
And I'm really looking forward to
Those
that.
tickets weren't untouched,
Yeah,
that's for sure.
they are going to be huge.
Okay.
They're not the headliners.
All right. So we got that, and like we're going to be talking about this with David Limbrick later in the show. But obviously, pill testing is the main debate where it's coming down. I mean, it's mainly a New South Wales thing at the moment because another kid died. 25-year-old died over the weekend at a festival because he took like a bunch of drugs. So where is like pill testing among people that go to festivals? Like, what's the sort of things that are being said about it?
Well, I mean, I think amongst the people I know, people that have I've been to festivals with, the general consensus is, the security at festivals isn't really deterring anyone. No one seems to think that's going to stop them.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in their minds, it's like, well, the next logical step is if you're not going to stop people bringing them in, so maybe we should try and make it safer.
What's your view?
Well, I think
The direct questions. That's new sounding.
Yeah.
You listening, Evan?
That's what I do.
I think I agree. I think if we're not going to deter people with security, which doesn't seem like we are, then I think maybe the best way to go is, check if they're safe.
Very cool. All right.
I have a question before
do.
we get onto the festival do's and don'ts, which
Yes.
I know we want to talk about. Now, I'm a bit older than you guys. I've been to a festival.
Come on.
I've been to a festival in about 11 months.
Wow.
So
What was it, BTV?
It was, I can't remember the name of it. It was at Welcome to
BTV.
Thornbury, which is an excellent venue here in Melbourne.
Okay.
Is it really a festival if it's at a pub?
And
New
if
Year's Day.
you
It was at
can't
New Year's Day,
remember what
mate.
it's called,
If you went there, you would know that it was a festival. Anyway,
Festivals need to be in a farm.
I agree. You've got to camp there.
Yeah.
I got a camp there. I didn't camp there.
Camp at Welcome
That's
to
not a
Thornbury if
strict
you know the right
definition,
people.
but that's a fun.
Anyway, whatever.
Anyway.
That happened. How old is too old to go to a festival?
Jeez.
How old are you? You're
I'm 21.
21.
So I'm
Okay.
allowed to go.
Okay.
I'm in the prime age.
Yeah.
Probably your age minus 5.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
What about all those
That's a
old
tough
hippie
look.
people that take their
That's
kids?
a tough
Stuff
look.
like
There, if you can take your kids to the festival, it's not a good festival. You don't want to go to that
that.
festival.
Like Golden Plains, Meredith.
Golden Plains is very
They
good.
all have kids.
Like,
I feel like you can go as long as you want, but you actually have to go to at least 6 festivals a year.
Yeah, depends how
or
many you're going
the
to.
time card's taken away from you.
and you've got to camp. Like, none of these people, I know a lot of people go to Falls at Lawn and they'll stay in Lawn in
Or
an
glamp.
Airbnb. Yeah, they'll glamp. No, you've got to camp. You've got to not shower for 4
Well, I mean, I
days.
can handle that. I mean,
Pete's very okay with not
Dream.
cherry for 4 days.
one more question before we get to the do's and don'ts. This is a special request
And it's
from,
a peel.
from Hugh Tobin. He's so far up the tree.
We're going by the name.
He's so far high up the thing. I don't actually know what his job title is, but he's a big cheese
Big
around here.
player.
He wanted to know, once you have kids, can you still go to festival? Because his lovely wife Claire
Well, we
is
just had that, didn't we?
pregnant.
Well, I don't think you're allowed to bring kids to a lot of them.
Okay.
Yeah. The
You go to
BTV.
some. You can't bring a kid to BTV.
Oh,
That's
mate,
a word I've found.
I'd be looking for employment if I was you.
All right. I'm just glad I'm still in the festival thing. I'm 25, which gives me how many more years if I want to turn things around?
I actually don't know how old Pete is.
It gives you about 5
But you
years.
just know.
Exactly.
I don't know how
I
old you
have
are, but you're 5 years
Patreon
too old. That is
Anyway.
delicious. All right, let's get into it. So, festival do's and don'ts. I'm sure we've got a lot of listeners out there who are going to a festival, and if they're not like me, and they get invited to one, and they maybe go snap up one of those tickets that are still lying around for Falls because Vampire Weekend are headlining, we need to talk about what are some do's and don'ts. Now, Adam, you're no stranger to the game. You say BTV and not Beyond the Valley. What are some do's? What are some don'ts? I've got a few of my own.
All right. Probably the biggest don't for me, which from experience.
Starting from the don'ts.
I'm going
Okay.
to start with don'ts. Start
Right.
negative. From experience, biggest don't bring a Kmart tent. They're not good.
Oh, I've done that before.
They break.
They cost $12, mate.
I know.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah, it's
Or
like-
$8. They cost.
Should've
No
been
one loves
surprised.
saving a bit of cash more than BTV.
Yeah, well, they break within the first day, and you end up just sleeping under it like
part
a
of the
little
experience.
tarp. That was really unfortunate.
All right, so
Okay.
but unless you're Pete
Write
and
it
you do
down,
want to do
folks.
it. All right. One of my don'ts, I don't know if we want to go back and forth,
Yeah, go
but one of my don'ts, don't go to the politics tent. Sometimes there's a politics tent or sometimes there's a stand-up tent. Don't go to it. You can't Instagram yourself being there. You can't get a good photo of you nodding along. So there's no actual point.
It's also just not fun.
Yeah. Simon Breeny, who used to work here, did a Q&A at Splendor in the Grass. Yeah. And he said it was pretty grim.
You got a free trip.
Grim for everyone else involved. He got a free trip to Splendor in the Grass in a different state, which was pretty good for him.
Yeah.
All right. Hit us with another don't if you have any.
My other don't is don't be the guy that brings the trestle table, because from experience, they always get broken. Someone's
taking a dive on the trestle table.
Someone's diving in your trestle table, and it's funny until you realise it's yours.
Oh, when it's not your trestle table, amazing.
Yeah. When you're 21, your mum still gets angry.
Buy it from Kmart, it'd be $6.
We're going to get some Kmart sponsorship for all this. All right. Do we have any do's or do we have more don'ts?
My biggest do would probably be actually pack good food.
Yeah.
I last year we thought we could just buy several kilos of carrots and we could last.
How many carrots do you go through?
Absolutely
a lot in 4 days. And
what are you eating?
After a couple of hours, it's bad.
Mate, if you're drinking for 3 days, you want something a bit more substantial.
Yeah, we found that out. Carrots don't go well.
I have a very different approach. When I get to the $6 Kmart bags, like I will go to the food trucks and I will experiment with different things. Like I'm a big eat at the food truck.
That's a lot of money though, because meals aren't cheap there.
Yeah, but you don't get to take it with you. But you do get to take memories of the food trucks.
That is just
my biggest do. Funny gathering pole is a must. You need the big stick for everyone to be able to rally around at any time. What are they actually called?
Doof stick.
Oh, doof stick.
They banned them at Falls. Actually,
what?
Yeah, you can't bring them in.
That's why no one.
Another reason to go to BTV.
Another reason to go to BTV. But funny. Doof stick is a must. A couple of suggestions here. So for people that don't know, this is just like a giant stick. The designated tall person, Adam would probably be very familiar with this. The designated tall person carries around the big stick. There's something on it so everyone in the group knows, hey, if we get lost or hey, if it's 2 a.m. and the music's wrapped up, get to this stick and we're all going to meet each other and head back to the campsite.
Practical and fun.
Practical and fun. And funny. So a few ones you might want to experiment with out there. Laurie Oakes, always a good one. If you just get a giant photo of Laurie Oakes and put that on the top of your doof stick.
Yeah, that's good.
Nicolas Cage as well, particularly him in the bee helmet. Always gets a good laugh. David Hasselhoff drunk in that video where he's like lying on his kitchen floor. You can always do that. And if you want to put a 2019 twist on it, and this might be controversial, but Prince Andrew.
Yeah,
if you just do the photo
that is controversial.
with him smiling and his arm out.
There probably won't be too many more of them either, so you'll know which one's yours.
Exactly. All right, so they would be my do's. Funny doof stick.
Nice.
Cool.
I like it.
Do you have any more?
No, I think that
okay, cool. So that is our festival preview guide. Thank you, Adam.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Mate.
Okay, we now welcome back onto the show. Friend of the show, David Limbrick, State MP for the Liberal Democratic Party. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Now, we'll give people an idea. So we were going to have a debate about pill testing, and especially with all the summer music festivals coming up. And we had 2 people booked in. It was yourself and another, and we were going to have, the pro camp and the against camp. Now, unfortunately, the against camp pulled out this morning. Some are saying running scared would be an idea. Like, I don't know if you induce terror in your opponents. Is that the kind of angle we're going for?
I don't know if I induce terror. I'd like to think I do. So.
Well, anyway, so we'll have this sort of against camp on in a future show. But David, thanks so much for joining us. So let's start with just where we're at. So what is pill testing and why are you in favour of it? Actually, no, because I'll throw a new one in there.
Cancel that one.
Peter, unfortunately, just learned in the show that he might be a bit too old to go to music festivals.
Oh, yeah.
So David, are you attending any music festival coming up this summer?
I went to Rainbow Serpent this year, and
I
might go again next year. I don't know. But
you're an inspiration.
That is the most Liberal Democratic MP.
Well, I was speaking there. So
you were speaking. Yeah. How old are you, Dave, if you don't mind me asking?
45.
So there you go.
Pete's got many years left.
There was older people than me there, quite surprisingly.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, we need to get Adam back in here.
Get him in now.
All right, but what is pill testing and why are you in favour of it?
Okay, so I prefer to talk about pill testing as like a pill consultation service or a pill service. So what happens is someone's at a
pill service.
It's a service, right? So someone's at a festival and they have some pills, and what they do is they go to one of these services, and the first thing that they do is they sit down with someone and have a consultation. And for some of these people, it's the first time that they've ever talked to anyone about their drug use, and they're talking to someone about their drug use before they actually take the drugs, which is a really powerful thing. And I think what a lot of people get miss is that probably this is one of the most effective parts of the pill testing process, is that they're talking with a professional or a peer worker. And so what they get told is, here are the risks about doing what you're about to do. In certain cases, they may discover, like if they're on other medications such as, antidepressants, they might get told, did you know that there could be really bad side effects of you taking this in conjunction with your antidepressants, right? And people are made aware of these things that they might not talk to their doctor about, but they might talk to one of these peer workers
and
about.
they're definitely not talking to the person that gave them that pill at the festival about,
Yeah, so
they don't provide those services, as far as I'm aware.
No. And so what happens after that is they take a sample of the pill or capsule or whatever the substance is. They take a small sample of that, and then they put that in a machine, which is like a mass spectrometer. So it figures out what's actually in the pill, and then what they'll do is they'll get a report from that after a few minutes, and that will say, the pill, I expected that the pill contained X substance, so they might expect it contains MDMA, and it may or may not contain MDMA in the actual pill, because of course these are produced on the black market and whatever. And so what we find is, in certain situations, they'll find that it's in fact not the thing that they thought it was in the pill, and they'll have a chance to make a decision on what to do with that. And what we found at the Groove and the Moo festival, where they ran this trial earlier this year in ACT, there was 7 pills that they identified that actually contained N-ethylpentylone, which is a completely different substance to MDMA and has quite different effects. And those people that discovered that pill contained that instead of MDMA, they threw it in the bin and they didn't take the pill because they thought the risk was too high. And that's the objective of this, is really we're talking about minimising the harm from people at festivals taking drugs through having a consultation with people and learning about some of the possible risk factors and how to maybe manage those risk factors, maybe taking a smaller dose and this sort of thing, and also trying to identify whether what's in the drug that they thought is in it, whether it actually is what they think it is, right? At no stage are the people giving them a green light to take drugs. The people are saying to the customers of this service that, if you want to reduce your risk the most, you don't take the drugs in the first place, right? But these people are going to take the drugs, so they're trying to help them make better decisions and lower their risk. And it's all about lowering harm.
Could I just jump in there? So is there more thorough data than the ACT trial? Like, is there trials overseas or something? Like, can you put a percentage on anything like that? Or
so there's services that run, it's been running in New Zealand for a few years now, and there's also services in Netherlands and a few other countries, I think. But what we find is at these festivals that there is a much lower rate of hospitalisation. So if we're looking at metrics that we judge success on this by, right, deaths is the one that everyone talks about, but it's probably not such a great metric because it's such a rare thing that it actually happens. Statistically it doesn't make a lot of sense, but a good measure of effectiveness is the number of hospitalisations that happen at events. And I think I think the difference between in the UK there was a trial, and the year that they had the trial in 2016 had a 95% reduction in hospitalisations from the year before, when they didn't have any sort of those services. So there's clear evidence that there is a reduction in harm for people consuming drugs when this sort of service is available.
This might be stupid. Bear with me. But that's usually an indicator. But my thing with the pill testing trials is, how many people actually come forward and offer their pills to someone that might be working for the government or might be working for the festival? Do people just go, well, what if they take it away from me, or suspicious about that?
So I think at Groove and the Moo there was under 200, but it was in the order, between 100 and 200 pills were tested overall. So clearly a number of people do it, but it also has other effects, right? When you get someone from a group, let's say they might have bought some pill and it's a certain colour and a certain brand, and then they get it tested and then they find out that it's dodgy. Of course they tell all their friends, that stuff that's being sold that we bought, we shouldn't be taking that. So it has wider effects beyond just the pills that are tested.
Right.
And also what happens is that when the services identify things that are dodgy, they will notify other organisations, and that's what happens in the Netherlands. They have a database of all the pills that they test, and they notify the authorities, so health services and police and that. And hopefully it'll help the policing, if it's focused on, if they know, okay, there's some dodgy pills going around and we can focus our efforts on policing that, then that's a great outcome, right? Because
So we saw over the weekend a young person died in New South Wales from taking drugs, I think at Rainbow Serpent. New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian said, what might be okay for one person taking a tablet could be lethal for another person. Let's not pretend that pill testing would have saved these lives. What do you say to that?
Well, pill testing's not a universal panacea. It's not going to solve all of the problems around drug use. Let's be clear about that. But what we do know is that it can reduce harm in certain circumstances, right? So there's always going to be people who take, risks over and above, and maybe they're not the sort of people that are going to use pill testing services. But there clearly is a market for this type of service. That there are people out there that want to reduce their risk and minimise harm from drugs, and they will use it. Obviously, it's not going to stop all bad effects from drugs, and I don't think anyone's claiming that it will. I disagree that it wouldn't have any positive effects. Pill testing, I totally disagree with that. I think it will have some positive effects, but will it stop all hospitalisations and deaths from drugs? No, it won't.
Yeah. We're coming at you with the tough questions just to regain the spirit of the debate. But the other part, so you said before how this isn't the government giving the okay to take pills.
Yes.
But there's still the image of someone who's backed by government law giving back a illegal pill everywhere else except this festival to someone and saying, okay, this is safe to inject. Well, not safe, but it's not tainted with the substance that's going to kill you, I guess. Isn't that in the case, the government sort of saying, okay, within this particular square of field, you can take this drug, but if you step outside the field anywhere else in Australia, it is illegal? Doesn't that create a sort of two different laws, I guess?
Yeah, look, it's certainly an exception, right? But I mean, from my point of view, if I'm looking at this from a philosophical point of view, we look at in liberalism and the harm principle, right? So is an action, people should be free to act unless they're causing harm to others. And if you look at the case of pill testing, are these people harming other people? No, they're not. In fact, this is a voluntary cooperation of people that are working together to reduce harm, right? So, is it a carve-out of existing laws? Then yes. But is it increasing liberty and reducing harm within that sphere in which it's carved out? Absolutely it is. So I don't have a problem with that. And, people talk about, is this government condoning drugs and stuff like that? Well, no, I don't think it is, because what we're doing is we're allowing people to gain more insights about their drug use and lower their harm, and gain more market information about these substances that are on the black market. I don't think it's government condoning drugs. And look, there's also this issue, and it's a fair criticism. People say, well, why should taxpayer resources be directed to this sort of thing? But if we look at the way that it runs in New Zealand, for example, it's run by a charity, right? So this is private money that's pooling together to do this. It doesn't have to be government run. Also, the Grooving the Mood tests that were run, these were also private money. That some of it was crowdsourced and individual donors and this sort of thing. There's no reason that these services can't be run through charitable or non-profit organisations.
Or the festival itself, because the last thing the festival wants is someone to OD and die at their own festival.
Absolutely. I mean, my understanding is in the Netherlands, it's actually has an effect on their insurance premium. So there's an economic thing going on there. If they have the pill service, then that's going to affect their insurance premiums and a whole bunch of other things, right? But there's also the issue of not having a pill testing service or not having these harm minimisation measures is costing taxpayers right now. So, God forbid, when someone dies from one of these pills that's dodgy, we've got emergency services costs, we've got ICU bed costs, we've got coroner's report costs, we've got all these other costs. If someone suffers a catastrophic brain injury, we've got lifetime care costs. You only need one person to suffer one of these catastrophic brain injuries and need care for the rest of their life, and it costs taxpayers millions of dollars. So I really don't buy the taxpayer argument either, because I think that there are a lot of costs that are happening right now that are costing taxpayers now. I'm quite convinced that having this sort of fairly cheap service would save taxpayers money in the long run anyway. So I don't really buy that argument either.
All right, one more question just about the political aspect of this.
Yes.
We see festival season's coming up. More and more of people are going to be harmed by drugs. Do you see pill testing coming in Australia or Victoria more specifically in the next little bit?
In the next little bit, probably not, but there's certainly a push from a lot of angles on this to try and allow this. So I know the Greens have got a private members bill up that they're trying to get up. On the crossbench in Victorian Upper House, there is a lot of support for pill testing, as you would have seen earlier in the year, and I think that might have even grown a little bit since then, so we'll see how that goes. We're going to continue making noise about it. I think it's really, I'd like to think it's a matter of time before the government changes their minds on this. I don't want to see more people get harmed by pills at these festivals, but inevitably it will happen.
Yeah,
and
like
we have to
it's
decide.
going to happen this summer,
it's going to happen, and we have to decide. All right, are we going to allow measures that might reduce that harm and prevent some of that harm from happening?
Yeah, cool.
Cool.
All right, David Limbrick, thank you very much for joining us again on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up on the show, we're going to run through some of our heroes and villains. So it's just me and Pete for this segment. Heroes and villains, Pete, the Grunt the Pig Freedom Snort of the week. How are we going interviewing that pig, by the way?
He hasn't responded to any of my emails yet.
Okay.
But,
Grunt the Pig at AOL.org.
he's a busy guy.
He's a busy pig. So
got two
this is the
agents.
pig that got suspended from being a pig by Wangaratta City Council.
Yeah.
Basically the idea. But anyway, we've made him the symbol for freedom in this year, 2019. And who gets your snort of freedom for standing up for freedom around the world this week?
That's a really good question, James. Now, my Grunt the Pig Freedom Award nominee this week.
I was a bit worried there because that's usually how you preface things when you don't know the answer. And I was like, think of a hero this week.
For a second, I was like, actually, I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, what I'm doing, last month, American 17-year-old Feroza Aziz smuggled criticism of the Chinese government into a recent TikTok beauty tutorial. So, beauty tutorial. Here it is. Play the tape, Saul.
Hi guys, so I'm going to teach you guys how to get long lashes. So the first thing you need to do is grab your lash curler, curl your lashes obviously, then you're going to put them down and use your phone that you're using right now to search up what's happening in China, how they're getting concentration camps, throwing innocent Muslims in there, separating their families from each other, kidnapping them, murdering them, raping them.
Absolute seamless transition from Feroza then, straight for the makeup into the political statement. Now, TikTok, of course, is a Chinese app, so basically controlled by the CCP. Now, so you're not allowed to actually criticise the Chinese government on it. Feroza managed to sneak that into her little TikTok video thing, was viewed 1 million times before the company that owns the app kicked her off. So she was off for an hour, it went viral. They put her back on and said it was a human moderation error. Yeah, right?
Yeah. No. They found the human, Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
It was him that got it off.
He made an error and got rid of Feroza. Now, for forcing what is essentially a CCP into an embarrassing backflip and highlighting the plight of the Uyghurs, Feroza, you're my hero this week. I just hope Virginia Trioli doesn't think that you're the problem.
Okay, well, interesting. We need to get her on the Virginia Trioli show. All right. My hero this week is a friend of the show, Matt Canavan, the minister. So he was on Alan Jones this week, and Alan Jones was talking about this climate change talk fest underway in Spain right now, and asked Matt Canavan why he wasn't there.
Well, why aren't you at Madrid?
Yeah, I'm sure it's lovely this time of year, but I've got some better things to do. I haven't committed enough sins in my life, obviously, to be sent there yet, Alan.
Jonesy absolutely loves that one.
Oh, he loved it.
He loved that joke a lot. Anyway, now people might think this is hypocritical of me to make him my hero of the week for this because of our long-held standing belief that Pete and I would accept any and all tickets to go on a junket. But the reason he is my hero is because he turned it down, which leaves what I would assume to be a fair few seats available on this Madrid climate change talk. So I just want to publicly, I haven't run this by you.
No, I think I know where you're going with it. I think I'm happy with it.
We'll go to Madrid.
Senator Matt, what's his name? Matt Canavan. We gave you a platform on this program to spread your views. Now we want something in return, a little quid pro quo.
Yep. Oh,
Can't talk, but yeah.
Yeah, but we can collude, apparently. So, we will go to Madrid. We will attend these conferences. We will report back, and we will also go to the beach and have some fun.
Looking
Is
forward
there
to
a
it.
beach in Madrid? Probably not. Anyway.
It's inland, actually.
It's inland,
Madrid.
but we will go to a beach.
Yeah, there's lots of beaches.
That is
in
our
Spain.
promise to our listeners, that we will go to the beach.
All right.
Let us head over to the villains of the week. So the people that have stood up for tyranny, for injustice, and against our heroes, or, just good people. Pete,
Exactly
save
right.
me.
Now, it's with absolute sadness in my heart
dear.
that I give my villain this week to the great Bob Catter. Now, last week in the Parliament of this great nation, Bob Catter said this.
In Australia, 90% of the food that is sold by two people. You've got two people to sell that milk to. And if you're stupid enough to stay on the free market and count on Woolworths and Coles being Mr. Father Christmas, then you deserve, my friend, what you get. And you'll get it. You'll get it.
Now, Bob went on, so he went on for a little bit. His whole speech was a 5-minute speech bagging deregulation and the free market.
Speech or rant?
Well,
what do we call it that?
I reckon it was a beautiful speech, just didn't have the same ideas that I have. But anyway, he went on to say this a few seconds later.
We had 172 million sheep in a regulated industry. We now have 66 million. My friend, I'll go into your electorate and debate it with you. In the meantime, shut up.
So, Bob, I love you. I love your passion. I love that you stand up for people that are outside the bubble. I love
And against the crocodile crisis.
And against the crocodile crisis, I've spoken about a lot on this show, and I love that you're willing to go into that bloke's electorate and debate him. But you are off your head, Bob, if you think the free market's a bad thing. This is the first time in human history, James, 10% of people have lived, less than 10% of people lived in extreme poverty for the first time in human history. That is because of the free market, Bob. And if you think the free market is a bad thing, you're off your head. Now, so Bob, for bagging free markets this week, you're my villain. But God bless Bob Catter and God bless Far North Queensland.
And Bob can bless Far North Queensland. I'm with you. I disagree with what he's saying in that clip, but God damn it if every Bob Catter clip doesn't make me run through a wall. When he fires up like that, when he's just got complete no care for the microphones that have already been given to him, he's just like, no, this is getting straight from the stomach.
And he's sorry, go on.
No, it's just like, I just want to run through a wall.
Yeah, exactly right. And he's actually, sometimes people caricature him, but he's actually very smart. You can see in that clip that he's got a really good
he thinks Coles and Woolworths are two people. Very smart guy.
No, but he's got to command all the figures. Anyway.
The other part of it is, so for people who are watching on YouTube, they would have seen this, but there's Adam Bant in the bottom right corner of that clip. Man, I want to know what he's thinking in that moment. Just like,
I've never seen a person like this before.
Yeah, but also like, I don't know if they sit next to each other usually, but Adam has probably got like right ear deafness at this point, because Bob Catter does not care where the nearest microphone is. No. He will address everything at the same volume.
They turned him off. They didn't need one.
They turn off every microphone in the joint. All right, my villain this week, as I run through my... Yeah, there we go. Mark Ruffalo, actor, the Hulk, you would have seen him. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which Pete would definitely not have seen.
I've heard of this guy, though, which is good.
Very good. I'm actually impressed. I genuinely thought we'd be in trouble there. Anyway, he tweeted this, if we can see it on screen. It is time for an economic revolution. Capitalism today is failing us, killing us, and robbing from our children's future. Now, I'm going to echo what Bridget Fettersey, friend of the show, did, and half the internet, which is... my goal in life is to get to the point where I'm rich enough that I can get to trash capitalism on Twitter. It is the rich man's game, and I want to be a part of that world.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to be a part of that. I like Tim Poole's response, who's a journalist we are going to get on this show. That's a promise to you.
After Trump.
He's fantastic. We're going to get him on. He said, prove you mean it. Donate your excess wealth until you're at the threshold of 1%. You'll still be rich, but you'll give help to the needy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
which is a good point.
Good point.
You can donate as much money as you want, mate.
Yep.
And 32,000.
That was both of us channeling Bob Catter there. With good point.
Yeah, we really sat up straight since Bob Catter was on. 32,000.
Played at the start of every show just to get us up and about.
Just every morning. Bob Catter yelling at you to get out of bed. Buddy, make something of yourself. Anyway.
We need to get that alarm clock done. Us two should go into business together. We'd make millions.
We'd make millions. Anyway, I just want to point out the annual income to be in the top 1% of annual income earners in the whole world. In America, you have to earn above 32,000 American dollars.
Wow.
So you give away all your money until you've just got that left, Mark Ruffalo, then I'll believe you're dinkum.
The other part of it is, so Mark Ruffalo wants an economic revolution. You want to talk about like owning the means of production. Now, in the last Avengers movie, the Hulk was not like, he was in CGI Hulk form the entire time. Yeah. The means of production were the people working the CGI department, but who gets the junkets all around the world, spruiking the movie in the millions of dollars? Mark Ruffalo. Yep. So I don't know how well he's going to do in an economic revolution, would be my guess. I think first against the CGI wall. All right, we got more for your show for you after this.
Yeah.
Okay, we got another round of Hey, What Did We Miss? The Young IPA quiz. Loaded panel this week, fresh off his dominating performance last week and possibly the most high standard of quiz we've had so far, I would say.
Very good.
The IPA spin doctor, Evan Mulholland. We've had him on the show already to talk about Foreign Influence Transparency Scheme, and now he's here for the quiz. He's already taken off the crown.
Yeah. Who was that king that abdicated?
Edward VIII, I want to say.
I don't know.
Could be right.
Would know, but that's what you are.
Is this part of the quiz?
I was watching that episode of The Crown
and we're
last night.
starting again. We've also got IPA Research Fellow Andrew Bushnell in here, heading up our criminal justice project. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Cheers.
And of course, the Roof CEO, Peter Gregory.
Always a pleasure.
If it is your first quiz, classic quiz format, 1 point for correct answers, 1 point for incorrect answers. I'm just going to quickly pad while I write up a score sheet for myself. I'm definitely prepared for this week.
Yeah.
And your buzzers are going to be your first name, so let's quickly go around the table.
Andrew.
Yep, that was a bit of a stutter there.
Yeah, I had to
get on top of that one. Evan?
Yep,
like that.
Roof.
Evan already encourages
Roof seal.
someone desperately trying to win. All right, let's go to question 1. So, what words are Western Sydney University advising their student?
Husband and wife.
That is correct. You can know. Just don't use those words. I didn't read the full article. I just read Bella's quotes.
Shout every time.
Yes, and they're going to get more loud and more piercing, and they're going to hurt even more as his lead builds and builds. What is the reason for that one? Not the shouting, the husband and wife thing.
This is the first I've heard of this.
Breaks down traditional, or might be offensive to some people. That
When I was filling out the paperwork for when my son was born earlier this year, technically in Victoria, I'm parent 1. And my wife is parent 2.
How hard did you push for parent 1?
Like,
was that a conversation?
It's like,
That's pretty sexist. Why is the woman second?
Yeah.
Well, no, I was filling out the form. She'd just given birth, so she was in bed resting.
That is far more adversarial, parent 1 versus parent 2, more than husband and wife.
His father.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Okay. Who dropped out of the US presidential race?
Evan.
This
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris is correct. She fired every employee personally and then arrested them immediately for trespassing. Question number 3 is, what was the name of Clive James's chapter in Climate Change of the Facts 2017, still available at ipa.org.au?
I proofed that.
You did. What was the name?
I can't remember.
I just don't. I think that would be part of it.
People don't
Clive
realise
James, famous Australian writer. I'm just patting all you guys.
Get it wrong, but I know
Australian writer did
half
contribute
of it.
a chapter to Climate Change of Facts 2017. Evan
Mass death dies hard.
is correct. Evan is off to a flyer.
If we don't get a point where our strides are off, Andrew,
No, they are not. No, they are not. We'll leave that to Extinction Rebellion. We don't do it
that's fair
anywhere
enough.
else.
that kind of thing goes well on the internet, I've heard.
Would be an extremely well-viewed video.
All right. Who were the 3 leads in The Irishman, the new Scorsese film?
Is it their real names?
Andrew. Netflix. Yep.
Robert De Niro,
Yep.
Joe Pesci, and Al Pacino.
Correct. Out of curiosity, Peter, when you said what were their real names, what were you going to offer as fake names?
No, like, as in, do you want their character names or their...
I'd be amazed if you could give me character names.
Do you know what? I've
Jimmy
actually
Hoffa's
seen that
one.
movie.
Wow.
I've seen half of it.
The third ever movie. How'd you feel? I'm going to say you've seen half of it.
It's a bit
It's like
sad.
3.5 hours.
It's a bit sort of grim. It's like, wow, people live like this.
By the way, how angry does Leonardo DiCaprio that he wasn't in that movie? I spent 3.5 hours waiting for him to turn up. He's in every Scorsese movie.
Yeah, all the favourites.
Actions
All the
Bronson was
favourites
in
were
it.
there.
Yeah, it was absolute.
The second half of it's really good. The first half is a bit slow. The second half is
Goes
really
for
good.
ages.
My main thing about it will involve a spoiler, so we'll move on. But we'll talk about this off air. Okay, what was the most popular boy's name for newborn babies this year?
Roof. Steve Smith.
Incorrect. Steve
Both
Smith
names.
Gregory.
Negative.
All right. It was
Dusty.
Not Dusty.
Not Dusty.
There are more states than Victoria. It was
A lot
Oliver.
of Richmond fans.
Oliver was the most popular name.
Oh, yeah. That's not that weird.
Okay, the next one.
Pushy's not happy with it.
Bushy's, I just saw him shift around in his seat.
I thought we'd given my son like a interesting name.
What is it?
What is it?
My son is named Raphael.
Oh, that's good.
And
okay,
I keep hearing it's
of
like
tennis.
that. It's like in The Simpsons. It's like, no, my son is also named Bort. I keep hearing people with their kids' names, and I was like, but I wasn't actually trying to be like
Lots
creative.
of Ninja Turtles fans.
All right.
Fair enough.
Anyway,
According to Jeremy Corbyn, what does Trump apparently want on the table?
Evan. The NHS.
Yeah, apparently. So Trump wants to bring the NHS into trade talks with the US, as if there's like a buyer's market for that thing.
I like the way that Evan pronounced H like H, like a real traditional old Catholic pronunciation.
Oh, well, I'm a traditional
this
Catholic.
is his positioning for his next run for office.
Be later this week at this rate. Name 6 parties that are contesting the UK election, which is next week. This time next week. 6 parties. I'm sure you can get at least 3.
Yeah,
Andrew.
Let's have a crack at this.
Yep.
Yeah, might as
So
well.
you got the Conservatives.
Yep.
Got Labor.
Yep.
Liberal Democrats.
Yep.
Brexit Party.
4.
Plaid Cymru.
5.
Good work.
And the Scottish National Party.
That is
Too
6.
easy.
All right, Andrew Bushnell gets it.
I like it. You should get an extra point for actually pronouncing the Welsh.
Yeah, I got to say,
Yeah, I
I
was
was
gonna
very impressed by that. But you don't get an extra
Okay,
point.
if you had said the
Good,
Welsh
good,
Party,
good.
we would have given it to him.
All right. According to the Brazilian president, which famous
Roof,
figure...
Leonardo DiCaprio.
That is...
Thanks
wow.
for coming.
What was
Okay.
the,
That was lightning
question? Can I-
fast.
Can I hear the question?
To get back to 0.
I think
Well,
I did about
Peter
3 wrong
Gregory
answers.
got sick of being on 0. According
John
to the
Elway
Brazilian
patented
president...
last second magic.
NFL reference, I like it. According to the Brazilian president, which famous figure is to blame for paying to set fire to the Amazon? So the Brazilian president went public with this theory that Leonardo DiCaprio donates to groups that, part of their environmental plan is to, set fires. But this Brazilian president needs his second life to be a World Wrestling Foundation heel. Like, he's just never steps down. He will attack anyone that attacks him.
Cool.
Just loves the boos coming from the UN and from international celebrities. It's a loss to the world of wrestling.
He's the world equivalent of Macho Man Randy Savage.
And who will be his Hulk Hogan?
I have no idea.
Okay, next question. Which major media outlet won't investigate Democratic nominees?
Andrew.
Oh,
No, I was first.
Oh, no. I was first.
you got the parent one
I reckon
situation
that
all
was
over
a
again.
dead set.
I reckon that was exactly it.
Dead
So give it to me again.
Andrew.
That was
Oh, that is
Bloomberg.
what an
It was.
absolute rort. I've lost all confidence in the integrity of this quiz.
Which is good because we had a question about Bloomberg News. To be fair, I would have accepted literally any major media publication apart from Fox News.
Who were they not investigating?
Any Democratic nominee, because Michael Bloomberg, who owns Bloomberg News, is running for Democratic nominee. So he said, out of fairness for the
And Trump
competition,
just didn't
we're
give
not
them
gonna-
any credentials.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
just
straight
pulled
up
all their
no credentials.
yeah.
That's who's going to be the Hulk Hogan to the Brazilian president's Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah.
These two need to get into the WWF. All right, so score check at the end of the regular stuff I just drilled. Evan is on 5. Andrew is on what appears to be 2 or 3. I can't read my own handwriting.
Should figure that out.
Well, I think I'm on 2, but really it's Evan on 4 and me on 3 because I got the last one.
All right.
5 to 2.
Get one to
5 to 2.
I spent the rest of the afternoon watching the tape.
It's like the Zapruder film. You're like, if you look at this angle.
Yeah.
All right.
Look at the VAR.
I'll give it to 3, and Peter Gregory is on 1. All right. Who am
I reckon I'm on 0.
So Andrew's on 3.
No, you got 1. You got the.
No, I'm on 2.
Yeah, Andrew's on 2. I'm on 5.
I got the Leonardo DiCaprio right, but I
Yep.
did the first name wrong.
got the Steve
a
Smith
few
thing
times.
wrong.
Oh, yeah, true.
Anyway,
Yeah, 'cause
I should just give you the done.
It's your need for the jokes. I'll take the done set now then.
So
I've
to
already
win, I
stuffed up
just have to get it on the first one.
Yep. Okay. All right. So,
That's not going to happen. So.
well, not with that attitude. All right. Who am I? I died for 5 points. I died 440 years ago on Wednesday.
I don't know who that is.
Could be anyone. Well, no.
Don't start that again.
440 years ago.
on Wednesday.
Anyone want to guess?
Died. 440. All right. 4 points. I'm an English political philosopher.
Oh, here we go.
There we go. That narrows it down.
English political philosophy. English, you say?
English.
Political
From England.
philosophy.
Yeah.
This
Word.
is embarrassing. I should know.
This is.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought.
the
I just
philosopher.
have to do the.
To be
maths.
honest,
so
the
that's
back
like
half of this-
1580 something.
But you have to
Yeah.
guess now, don't you? Doesn't he? Does he have to guess now, or
Yeah,
is?
so I'll ring in.
Yep.
So he died 1580 something, and he's English. So and he's a political philosopher. This is what we know.
Yeah.
The pressure's on.
The tension is killing me.
Next
All right, 3 points. I'm regarded as having made popular the social contract theory.
Here he goes.
Surely this one.
Andrew.
Yep.
Hobbes.
Yep. Correct. All right.
There we
all right.
go.
Whoa, drop the pen. Sorry,
that mean-
that brings us to a tiebreaker. But I do have one. I do actually have a tiebreaker question this week.
Really?
I do
That's
actually
amazing.
have a tiebreaker question this week.
That's amazing.
All right. What is the name? And it's only Evan and Bushnell going for this one.
Yep.
But what is the name of Joe Biden's 18-stop tour through Iowa? Andrew.
No malarkey.
There is no malarkey in the tiebreaker question.
Cop
Bushnell's
that
got it.
shooting dog that tried to cheat.
Oh, no. I did not cheat.
There's the crown.
Oh, no.
I reckon we're going to run this back next week.
Look at
This is a
that.
good
Look at that.
competition.
Yeah.
This
All right.
is look at that. The crown symbolises justice.
Well,
never
that's the
seen a
title of his
happier
next
winner.
report. That is it for YIPA quiz. We've got more show for you coming up after this. Okay, loaded show. We're running long, but we do have a few stories that we really want to hone in on, I want to say.
You need to hear them. You need to hear them.
If you went through the rest of your week with it, we said no messing around.
It's a long show.
We said no messing around. Okay, we'll skip that. Let's talk about Joe Biden's week.
Yeah.
We should not be allowed near microphones. Let's talk about Joe Biden's week. So as discussed in the quiz, Joe Biden's tour of Iowa, trying to drum up some last minute support, is called the No Malarkey Tour.
Good name.
Which is amazing. Apparently narrowly beat out No Boulder Dash and No Gobbledygook Tour as well for the last names. Using a thesaurus for that one, I also found out that, flapdoodle is a word
Really?
for I'm going to be saying flapdoodle for the rest of the show.
What does it mean?
Same thing, just, nonsense speak. Well, that was a thing, because for people watching on YouTube just saw this, malarkey must have been road tested as not a word that a lot of people knew because there was a definition of malarkey on the back of the bus.
Really?
Yeah. They've got like malarkey noun, nonsense speak.
Yeah. Well,
which usually would be like, that's when you go back to the campaign big board of possible slogans. Anyway, the term in the article it goes, the term recalls the time the former vice president told Republican rival Paul Ryan in a 2012 debate that he was espousing, quote, a bunch of malarkey.
Yeah.
I mean, whomst could forget that famous moment from the 2012 campaign trail?
just two of the great minds butting into each other.
I like Biden just leaning into the boomer angle at this point. It's tough for boomers on the internet these days. A lot of okay boomers flying around, but Uncle Joe's here and he's going to use the word malarkey and he's not going to back down from the fact that he's old.
Well, mate, the thing about boomers is that they vote.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
You know a lot about boomers, Pete. Anyway, that's not the only thing we want to hone in on Biden. Again, this is gonna be a bit that's a lot easier for our YouTube audience to appreciate than our listeners. But the listeners need to Google the photo. Just type in Joe Biden mouth. I think would be the best one. Or finger.
Probably.
Anyway, show the photo. He's at his wife's
at
giving a
that.
speech. His wife's got an outstretched hand, and Joe Biden has decided at this time, against all times in a public forum, to bite on his wife's index finger. Now, the thing about this is, he's not using his hands to slow down his wife's gesture. That is a man that knows how to bite his wife's finger. That is like a honing missile of his teeth.
Well, look, I mean, this is uncut Biden.
This is uncut
This
Biden.
is not rehearsed. This is
Yeah.
just a moment of Biden brilliance. And
Yeah,
to be honest,
if anything could make me miss the days of sniffing hair, it was the image of him biting his wife's finger.
I disagree completely. I'm sure it comes as no surprise to you, James, that I love this guy.
I'm sure. I want to see what you think of him after this third video that's
Okay. Oh, there's more?
resurfaced. There's more, but loaded week for Biden. Play the video of this is resurfaced this week. Him in a press
And by the
conference.
way, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun, and the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down, so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap, and I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
So that is audio from the same press conference as the famous corn pop, where he told the story of the gangster that he apparently fought. I still don't believe is real. Pete was kind of convinced.
I did believe everything Joe says.
What I want to know is, what the hell does that teach you about roaches? What in that story informs you about the world of cockroaches?
Oh, absolutely nothing. This is what I love about Joe. He's off his head and he doesn't care who knows it.
Yes, but he's going to be president. But I suppose we're used to that at this point.
But you said, you loved that hippie woman, Marianne Williamson.
I did.
You said she was like your mum's crazy yoga friend.
Who makes jewelry.
Where do you sit on old Uncle Joe?
Joe Biden is the family member you have that you invite over for dinner, and it's either going to be a really interesting long discussion about good memories or what sunscreen can teach you about roaches. And there's no in between. And you just got to roll the dice sometimes, because sometimes it's going to be amazing and sometimes it's going to take 4 weeks for the family to recover from what happened.
So who are you on now in the Democratic presidential race?
Well, Tulsi Gabbard's still in. I'm saying.
You know my thoughts on Tulsi Gabbard.
I do. All right. Last thing we want to do. Sorry, this happened on Twitter this week. It was trolling The Guardian. No, we're next up. Sorry, I went ahead.
I thought you were just going rogue on me there.
Long show. All right, Pete, talk to us.
Daily Mail. Okay, so we've seen the Extinction Rebellion protesters all around the world. As I said back in October, the worst thing about Extinction Rebellion is this. Saul, please roll that tape.
Oh, no.
Stop the extinction! Stop the extinction! Stop the rebellion! Stop the rebellion!
So
well,
for those,
listeners,
for those, I'm a professional, James.
Well,
For those listening on the listening things, that was image of Extinction Rebellion in October in Melbourne doing a nudie run, but they weren't nude. And I talked about this back then. It's a disgrace. If you're going to do a nudie
talked about it
run,
a few times.
Do a nudie run.
I'm going to start vetoing any story about Extinction Rebellion we do on the show because I just know that clip is going to get played.
It's a great clip. Now, but is this worse? Reports that back in October, which came out this week, so it is current, in the Daily Mail said on Sunday, climate activists smeared feces on restaurant walls and targeted staff with abuse in London, in Westminster, at a healthy eating chain called Leon because, and hear this, James, they had sold out of crushed pea salad. There were so many vegans in town for the protests that they sold out of crushed pea salad, and they all went off their head because they weren't getting enough, protein or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever's in the bloody pea thing. Anyway, can you imagine that?
Health guru Peter
Someone
Gregory.
going to you, James.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're out of peas, mate. And
Yeah.
you're going, oh, well, I'm going to drop my DAX and
Yeah.
just have
I'm
at
just
it.
glad they didn't use that fire truck that we had. They got lost and they started spraying everywhere.
This is a highbrow show.
Oh,
James.
is it apparently?
That is vulgar. Anyway.
We just had a nudie run and we're talking about feces.
Yeah.
Look, as someone who is terrified of sending back food that they, like, say I get a dish that I didn't order and I get someone else's, I'll just eat it because I'm a coward. Or just like, say it's cold and should be hot, I'll eat it.
Yeah.
So part of me looks up to this person because that is... that is someone like, I don't want to be all the way there, but I don't mind someone who's just going to throw a few elbows because there wasn't any crushed pea salad.
Okay, so there's a part of it you admire.
Part of it I admire. All right, last thing I want to do.
Didn't
So
see that
this happened on Twitter this week. Well, sorry for yes-anding. So this happened on Twitter this week. Everyone was trolling The Guardian, which is always going to be fun. People were just sharing, fake Guardian headlines. So what we wanted to do, I'm going to read out. So basically to give you an example, like this is obviously fake, so I'm not going to include it in the quiz. We need to ban public schools just as soon as my son finishes at Dulwich College. Like that kind of like classic, Ivory Castle left-wing thing. So
That's exactly what they call it.
We're on the same side. What I've compiled here is a few fake ones, a few real ones.
Ooh.
And Pete, you're going to have to guess which one's a fake Guardian headline from the memes. Some of them I've actually made myself, or which one's real.
So there's been all over the internet this week.
All over the internet. But I reckon I'll be okay with you haven't seen this before.
Okay.
All right. First one. So freedom of speech isn't freedom to criticize global media outlets. Real or fake?
That's real.
That is fake. Came up with that one myself.
Okay.
All right. Real or fake? Avengers Endgame was brilliant, but the fat shaming broke my heart.
Real.
That's real.
Yeah.
One for Pete. One for Pete. All right. Next one I've got. We must accept professors are the best people to decide what we're allowed to think.
That's fake.
That is fake. Well done. Oh, you were right about that one, though. You were right about that. Was pretty. That's line ball.
They all sound
They
plausible.
genuinely think that. They don't. Just won't say it out loud. All right. I'd rather police investigate a crime of misogyny than a crime of burglary.
That's real.
That is real. Correct,
Yes.
Peter. You're doing very well on
Yep.
this. All right. Last one
3 out
for
of
the
4.
chocolates. For the chocolates.
Ooh,
The
chocolate.
tears of joy emoji. One of Peter Gregory's favorites, by the way.
yeah.
Loves the tears of joy emoji.
Catch all.
The tears of joy emoji is the worst of all. It's used to gloat about human suffering.
That is false.
That's a real one.
That's annoying.
How do you feel about that last one? Because I know no one loves the tears of joy emoji more than Peter Gregory.
It's like, it's effectively the headline saying, don't be mean to people.
Yeah. But
So,
you love that.
so don't victimize the tears of joy emoji. Don't bring that's like saying don't say mean things.
All right, cool. That is it. Oh,
I just want to give you my favourite.
Oh, okay.
How does this is from years ago. How does the literary canon reinforce the logic of the incel? How indeed.
that is it for the show this week. Thank you to all of you contestants we've had on the quiz. Thank you to David Limbrick as well, Adam Schlicht. Check out Sorry Fox. We'll see you guys next
Evan
week.
Mulholland.
And Evan Mulholland. See you guys next week.
Thanks, everyone.